We will now go live to our good friend Kelly Walker. Is going to give us an update on the fight to restore justice and get justice for parents targeted by the Biden DOJ. What's up, Kelly? How are you?
Hey, good to see you, Shawn. Good to see you, everybody. I've got some exciting news. I don't have my studio set up. We just moved, but you get to see my nice cage in the background there.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, well, hopefully the move is going well. Brennan and I know about moving, and it's not a lot of
Oh,
fun.
Lord.
But yes, why don't we? So I know there's a huge press conference, a massive press event that's going on in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday. So why don't we start there? What I know, Congressman Andy Ogles is going, who's one of the best. Eli Crane, Sam Sorbo, you're going to be there. Why don't we start there? What is that press conference looking to accomplish, and just give us the basics on that.
Yeah, great question, Shawn. It's going to be at the House Triangle in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, July 15th. It's going to be hosted by Andy Ogles. We are going to present this dossier of testimonials from parents who were targeted by the weaponized DOJ, oftentimes, through proxies like school boards and local law enforcement, but the FBI, the DOJ were very much involved. They orchestrated the whole thing. So I'm very excited about it. Excuse me. Andy Ogles is going to be leading off. Sam Sorbo is going to be speaking. I'll be speaking. Seek Smith from Mom and Dad Army. Sharona Bishop, who, among various things, is with Moms for America. The Honorable Julie Pickren, who is involved in Texas education, very, very high up in that world. I just met her. Kimberly Fletcher, Moms for America, founder of Moms for America. Catalina Stube from Moms for Liberty. Ed Martin is expected to make a statement. Ed's been very, very supportive. Of course, schedules, are always crazy in D.C., but I also expect that most likely Eli Crane's going to show up. We could have Andy Biggs. We're inviting a number of people. So, and it's amazing, Shawn, because other organizations I wasn't even aware of yet have been contacting me saying we want to be a part of this. And Shawn, just think about it. We've got three of the top parent organizations coming together into one event: Moms for Liberty, Moms for America, Mom Army / Dad Army. And we're sending a clear message that the American people were targeted and abused. And in this case, school parents for having concern, for stepping forward and saying, hey, what you're doing is harming our kids. They were treated like terrorists. They were put on the terrorist watch list under the Patriot Act. And we're coming forward and saying no more. And we also believe that Vince Haley may come. We spoke to him last month, Sam and I did, in Washington, D.C., and he's Trump's domestic policy advisor. So they're all aware of this. I've been talking with Steve Bannon. He's going to stream it live on War Room. We've got NTD and Epic Times, a whole lot of others. We understand Breitbart and Fox News are going to show up. So,
Very good.
honestly, this is a grassroots effort. And, I've worked on this for years, sometimes kind of alone on it, but I'm glad to say now we have some really good allies and some great people working on this push to help parents.
So what time is everything going to be kicking off over there in Washington, D.C.? Just again, so everybody knows how to follow it. And you got it's a very long list of folks, of accomplished folks and big names that are going to be out there speaking on behalf of your efforts to bring justice here. So what time is everything getting kicked off on Tuesday?
11 a.m. Eastern and until 12 o'clock. And again, we're going to be in Washington, D.C., near the Capitol building, east side of the Capitol building, in what's called the House Triangle. If you're in that area, or if you'd like to come by, you'd like to show support, please do. It's going to be open. Of course, Capitol Police will kind of be monitoring it, but you should be able to say, hey, I'm here for the press conference. So it's going to be an outstanding event. We want to get a lot of coverage for it. And, I've been doing a lot of this on my own. I've flown up to DC, and I'm one of those targeted parents. I'm one of the most egregious examples of the federal government weaponizing against people. They've tried everything to shut me up. And, it's been a rocky journey. I'm about to put out a redacted version of the dossier so that you can see people's stories. And I'm one of them. And what I'm noticing is that all of these people, if you can imagine the full weight of the federal government coming down on you, trying to suppress you, trying to destroy your living, taking your home, all of these things, you're going to read some of these stories, and you're going to be horrified, and you're going to say, how can this happen in the United States of America? We absolutely have to make this right. But I've also done this, getting work here and there, trying to reestablish our lives. We're political refugees in Tennessee. We're glad to be here. But I'm going up there on my own dime. This is not some big organization. This is completely a grassroots effort. We have this Parents Demanding Justice Alliance. It's really a name and a brand. We're not a nonprofit, nothing like that. We've basically just brought people together and said, look, the American people have to do this. And we have other groups coming to us now too, saying, well, hey, what about this issue and that issue? How did you guys do this? And there's a broader scope to this to say, look, the Biden administration targeted swaths of Americans, for their religion, for their views on abortion, for their views on the election. So this is really a milestone. We're seeking an executive order from President Trump. I'm sure he's seen a draft of that. I'm sure he's aware of it because some of his top advisors are doing this. But the ultimate goal right away, quick, is to get this executive order to bring some relief, to bring some vindication. And Andy Ogles is calling this, I'm trying to remember what he's calling it. He used the word vindication. I kind of need to look on my X here. But while I'm looking for that, if you go to realfreedomtalk.com, you can see the press release that I put out. You can see links to the one that Andy put out. There's a whole weaponization against parents page. And if you're so inclined and you'd like to donate, we're at givesendgo.com/freedomtalk. I'm the opposite of a grifter. I've lost everything in this fight. Even a little bit, little donations help because, to buy a plane ticket and such. But Andy's calling it Vindicating Parents, Standing with President Trump press conference. And, we're taking a very positive approach on this, that we believe that Donald Trump, when he sees these stories, when he sees what's happened to parents, he's a go-getter. He's a doer. He's not going to put it in a file or have some report. We've done the report. He's going to say, look, we need to do something now. These parents need immediate help and attention, because we're talking about parents who've been treated. When you see these stories, you're going to understand why a lot of these parents have PTSD. A lot of them have been financially ruined. They're trying to make it. We have concerned parents who went to school board meetings and were arrested, thrown to the ground. Senator such and such, get used to it. Look at what people did just for being concerned parents. I forget his name, but the senator who was arrested for rushing Kristi Noem.
Alex Padilla, who J.D. Vance referred to as Jose, which was really funny.
Yeah, Crimea River. Now you see how it feels. But
right.
None of these parents charged anybody. All they did was speak out. One school mom, for example, she was denied the chance to speak over and over again at meetings. They kept putting up their shills to say how wonderful the school district is. After one meeting, when the meeting had adjourned, she went up to the microphone and said a couple of words and left. The police showed up at her house and arrested her and convicted her. And I mean, this is beyond the pale. It's amazing. We have stories in here of people who were doxxed, had people looking in their windows. I mean, and we have all the information. We trace it back to Merrick Garland. We trace it back to the DOJ. So here's the odd thing. We're working with DOJ now because Ed Martin's there. And what we're hoping is that there are enough people in DOJ that this new administration will say, this is a wrong we've got to right. We don't need the DOJ trying to CYA or trying to stymie this or hide this. This is really simple and easy. It's much less complicated than J6 and some other issues. It's simply this. Parents went to stand up and speak for their kids. They were targeted as terrorists. Merrick Garland admitted, the National School Board Association admitted this was wrong. We're not seeking reparations, some nebulous number. What we're saying is we're going to look at the actual damages people sustained, because the government's supposed to protect our life, liberty, and property.
Right.
And
they're not supposed to infringe on those rights.
If they deprive people of these things, they need to restore it. It's just that simple. There are a couple suicides involved from all the pressure. There are family rifts. You're just going to have to look at the dossier. It's incredible what people have suffered and endured, and they all for being a concerned parent. There was no instance of violence in any of these. And nobody was convicted and charged federally. But the sneaky thing is, They worked in coordinations, for example, in my case with Pima County and the city of Tucson, the school boards, to carry out these dastardly deeds for them. So technically, President Trump can't give a pardon because they're not federal arrests.
Right.
However, I do believe he can say, look, the FBI, the DOJ orchestrated this whole thing. All of it's fraudulent. So he can exert some sort of pressure, or we can find some way, maybe even it goes to the Supreme Court to say, if the federal government's using local law enforcement as a proxy, they're involved in that, they're pushing a narrative, all this needs to go away. Every one of these parents needs to be exonerated. Sam Sorbo brought up a good point. She said, Donald Trump is the parent in chief. And, he needs to
That's a good point too.
Honor these parents. These parents have been shamed, doxxed, arrested, harassed, threatened. And President Trump not only has the ability to vindicate them, but to say, I'm going to honor these parents, because at a time when our children were in the most danger, when the government was reckless and out of control, they closed schools with no good reason to do it. They accepted money from the CDC to drive kids to suicide with the masking and isolation. You can look at all of it. The stats are out there.
Yeah.
But he has the chance to say, we're going to hold these parents up as examples of good Americans. They're heroes. They did the right thing. And when you read these stories, that's going to come out. You're going to see that clearly. So I'm super excited about it. I'm trying to manage my expectations because it is government.
Of course.
All. But we want President Trump to hear this loud and clear. He is the parent in chief. We believe he's going to do the right thing.
All right, I'm going to ask one more question, and I really want to hit on this because you mentioned that you're coming out of pocket for a lot of this. This is not cheap. This is not easy. You're in the middle of a move. You've had your life, wrecked, severely altered, obviously because of the targeting that you had to endure. We just saw this big win yesterday for Douglas Mackey, who was another person who was targeted by the Biden Department of Justice because he shared a meme that was a joke on social media. They threatened to put him in jail for 7 months, sentenced him. They convicted him and sentenced him to 7 months in prison. And, he got a lot of help, a lot of assistance, funding his legal defense, and that's all good and great. But we need support on this issue as well. There's more than one parent who has been, and it's not to take anything away from Douglas, right? But there's more than one parent. You're more than one person. You're talking for more than one person. Your press conference is about more than one person. So again, for you personally, because you're the one I see leading the charge on this, right? You are the one I see out in front, vocal, not backing down, persistent, in a good way, just driving it home like, hey, we got pardons for J6 and we got this and that, and those fights aren't over yet either. But like the parents who were targeted by the Biden DOJ, which we talked about earlier in the show today, about how, the FBI went from sending FBI agents to school board meetings to arresting, and busting child exploitation rings, albeit I get it. The Epstein thing wasn't what we were looking for. Some of these other huge groups have been busted up by the FBI recently. The FBI is getting better, but what I want to say, and basically just wrap this whole thing up in a bow, we need to not forget about the parents who were affected by this rogue Department of Justice, this rogue FBI, and you're out there leading the charge. You're the loudest voice that I see. So, but it's not easy to do this 24/7 the way you've dedicated your life to it. We need, I need the message to be heard loud and clear. Yeah. How can people support you so that you can keep doing this? Because I get the feeling that if Kelly Walker goes away and can't do it anymore, that's the last we hear from it, and that can't happen. So how do people support you?
Yeah, and I'd like just a minute. I want to give the link, but I want to give a little background too. And I say this with humility. This wouldn't be happening if I hadn't been tenacious and been willing to suffer a lot of things. I was politically canceled out of a very good job. My coffee shop, my business was destroyed, harassed and destroyed. They arrested me twice. The first one was dismissed. It was ludicrous. The second was ludicrous too. I got arrested for sitting in an office meeting. But they had it out for me. They sentenced me to 100 days in jail. They stole $10,000 out of our home sale. The damages, I can just go on and on about it. And we've spent, we went, when they went after our kids, when they tried to weaponize CPS against us, we said, we're leaving. So we packed up and went to Tennessee. We feel like we're in America again, but the damage is still done. And, I've done work for Mike Lindell. I do some work for the Epic Times, all of it's contract work. I'm still trying to get back into the career world and get some stability. But, in the meantime, I've been dogging in this, no matter what my financial situation, I've found a way to go up. If you'd like to donate, it would be appreciated. It's givesendgo.com/freedom talk. I'm currently in the job hunt now. I've got a little bit of freelance, but it's a harrowing journey. And if there's one thing that's encouraging about this report, as horrific as these stories are, I've seen that I'm not alone. I'm not some loser. I'm skilled at what I do. I can keep a job, but you got to also remember, I'm just, worldwide media has made me out to be a terrorist. I have now a criminal record. I chose not to go to jail and not to appeal. Instead, I went to Washington, D.C., and I said, I'm not just fighting for myself. I'm fighting for all these parents, because I know
That's right.
bunch of them. I know school moms who were sent to prison to make an example of them.
Unbelievable.
And all they did was talk and stand up for their kids. So yeah, I don't like asking for help. I like giving help, but every bit counts. I'm flying up to D.C. That's always expensive. As we're trying to rebuild our lives, as we're trying to bounce back from this, I'm honored to suffer and sacrifice for my country. I'm super stoked at how far this has gone. Sam Sorbo's been amazing. Seek Smith, Lisa Ricard from Andrew Magazine. There are a lot of people who have come alongside. But absolutely, I say this with humility, this wouldn't be happening if I hadn't stood up to them and defied them. I did the same thing that Samuel Adams and John Hancock did when Governor Gage put out a warrant for their arrest.
That's right.
His response to Governor Gage was, I've already made my peace with the King of Kings. My advice to Governor Gage to him is to no longer insult the feelings of an exasperated people. And if there's one thing a lot of Americans are right now, it's exasperated after 4 or 5 years of being targeted by their own government, treated like terrorists. This is a big win for the Trump administration. This is going to look so good. And I'll tell you what, one of the parents is absolutely a progressive. We have Democrats and Republicans. It's a nonpartisan issue. This goes down to the very core human right and value to say, I have the right to speak out for my kid if I feel like my child is being harmed.
That's right.
Not to be arrested and thrown in jail and have my life destroyed. So I do believe President Trump's going to make this right. I think he cares. And I want to thank all the congressmen too. Andy Ogles, Eli Crane, Andy Biggs, Paul Gosar, Jim Jordan. I know that Senator Josh Hawley has been really passionate about this issue and said in Cash's confirmation hearings, made him promise to rectify this. So, well,
very good. And we wish you the best of luck, obviously, for those watching, listening anywhere. GiveSendGo.com/Freedom Talk to support Kelly Walker in this mission. Obviously, I believe it. I think a lot of people here believe it. You're the loudest voice on this. The best way to advance the football is to do it through you at this point, and to make this happen. So Tuesday, 11 a.m., Washington, D.C. press conference hosted by Andy Ogles. Several other elected representatives will be there. Kelly Walker will be there. Sam Sorbo will be there. Ed Martin may be there to help make this right and push this football forward. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today. We have to leave it right here, but you're always welcome on the show, and we look forward to some future updates. Thank you.
You've been a great friend and ally, and you do a hell of a show, Shawn. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kelly, so much. Appreciate it. That's the great Kelly Walker, who has been in the trenches for quite some time and has been fighting the good fight to try and, of course, fight for the rights of these parents who have been targeted, unfairly targeted, by a rogue Department of Justice. So please support Kelly Walker. GiveSendGo.com/Freedom Talk. If you can, every little bit helps. He's obviously in the fight of his life right now.